Welcome to the Product Agility Podcast, the missing link between Agile and product. The purpose of this podcast is to share practical tips, strategies, and stories from world-class thought leaders and practitioners. Why, I hear you ask? Well, I want to increase your knowledge and your motivation to experiment so that together we can create ever more successful products. My name is Ben Maynard, and I'm your host. What has driven me for the last decade to bridge the gap between agility and product is a deep-rooted belief that people and products evolving together can achieve mutual excellence.
Today, we are joined by Fabrizio Faraco. Fabrizio is somebody who is well known in the worlds of Lego and Lego Serious Play. I believe that's a fair statement, Fabrizio. And somebody who... How did I find out about you? Was it my friend, I think maybe Lee, maybe tagged you on a post somewhere? I can't remember. But when I started to delve into who you are, I thought this is someone that I want to talk to. So here we are, Fabrizio. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'm really happy to be here to talk about Lego Serious Play and a little bit to make people understand what is really Lego Serious Play beyond the Lego bricks.
And this is what I'm excited about, because we're going to start our episodes, because we're going to record more than one. And the first episode, we're going to talk about the origins of Lego Serious Play and some of your experiences with it. I know that Lego Serious Play has been around for a while. I mean, it's been around in my consciousness for years, but I've never learnt enough about it. I use Lego in my large-scale Scrum training, goes down really well, but I don't doubt that I could make it much better. So I'm really super keen to learn from you, Fabrizio. And I think maybe for the benefit of our listeners, would you mind giving a little introduction to yourself, a little about who you are, where you come from?
I'm Fabrizio Faraco. I'm coming from Italy. Also, if I spend a lot of time abroad, but I'm economist, my quantitative economy, statistical and analytics. I've been, first of all, a technical person. I've been dealing with energy and technology. In 1981, I joined an artificial intelligence product group that released a product that was working for the Italian government. Then we brought this product into United States in 1984. And at that time, we actually tried to sell this product in United States. Then from 1985 to 1989, I'd been into the telecommunication. At that time, it was a monopoly. It wasn't like today, different companies. But our goal was to make this monopoly disrupting into different companies. And so I was dealing into the joint venture, and I set up a joint venture with Microsoft in 1987. And in 1990, I left the corporate world. I started being an entrepreneur. I did a couple of startups, one in Italy, one in the United States. And then as a consultant, I'd been mainly work until the end of the the end of last century. From 2000, my feeling about consultancy and training was that they weren't really effective, especially for small and medium enterprises, where your costs were actually comparable with a new product line. So at that time, I'd been investigating into facilitation as a tool to make the solution being a little bit having people more committed into the client. And when I say committed, I say the act of taking decision without someone saying what to do. And so I became a Lego Serious Play facilitator in 2014. And I've been practicing mainly facilitation until today. I'm also a design thinking, design sprint, business agility facilitator. But like I usually say, they are framework that allow us to be effective. What really pay our bill is the fact that we produce result into our clients.
There was something you said there, and I left that pause there on purpose because that was me. That was me thinking. It wasn't silence. I was thinking time. So before we get into some of the origins of Lego Serious Play, and you've had a wonderful career. To be involved in AI back in the 80s, before people even would have guessed, I assume, that AI was a thing. I mean, in the 1980s, I'm probably not going to reach it now. This is rubbish for people who are listening. It'd be good when the video comes out. In the 1980s, my programming efforts were resigned to this little thing here. Do you remember? Yeah. And this is my original ZX Spectrum from when I was a kid. This thing, my dad taught me how to use this. So it's one of the few mementos I've got of my dad. So I hold it, I cherish it, even though it probably doesn't work. So, in 1984, I was loading up programs such as Ben the Dog or Attic Attack on this, and you were writing AI with COBOL and Fortran and assembly. I mean, that's just a different level. So let's not go too deep into that, because maybe that's the conversation that maybe one day I'll come to Italy, we go out for dinner, and you can educate me on that. But what you said there, which then really struck me, was you thought that training consultancy wasn't suitable for small to medium enterprises because of a large there's a large investment that goes with that. And then you then you said that you go for facilitation now instead. And you didn't say it explicitly, but if I summarised what you said and tell me if I've got this right, and I'll do it in a maybe slightly inflammatory way just to see how that lands. Training and consultancy need less commitment and cost more money. Facilitation needs more commitment and costs less money.
Yes, because people feel the solution, it's part of them. It's not Fabrizio or Ben's solution. It's not the consultant solution. It's their solution, something that they have built it. And when we talk about Lego Serious Play, I'm saying literally built it by themselves.
Well, this feels like a lovely jumping off point then. Now, you mentioned before we started recording that you can talk about the origins of Lego Serious Play and where it came from, and that is a story that I think we would like to hear, Fabrizio.
Yeah, it's actually started the same way. The owner of Lego was actually experiencing a very unexpected situation. Try to imagine at the end of the last century, Lego was a toy company, and they used to have toys as a product, and they have competitors like Ravensburg or Mattel, people that are doing the same thing. But then things are going to be complicated when the product is not anymore toy, it's actually time for play. And your competitors are not anymore toy production companies, but are electronic giant like Microsoft and Sony. So how do you deal with this disruptive situation? So he wanted to find a solution that allow him to actually take advantage of the real basic knowledge that there is inside the company. All of his managers knows how to deal and to make decision inside the toy market. But then there is no way to make all this knowledge become part of the corporate knowledge. So, as a owner and CEO of a corporation, large corporation, he went to a couple of professors that one American and one person from Denmark, asking, there is a way I can take advantage of the knowledge that is already inside the company, that I can leverage in order to face an unpredictable future. And the two professors start studying it, and then one of the American one go back to him and say, look, the fact that you are within Lego make us think about that if a child can unlock its own potential using your Lego bricks, maybe even your manager can unlock their potential using Lego bricks. So why we don't just make our manager play with Lego bricks in order to find solution and unlock the knowledge that is inside the Lego company. And that was the start. From this very stupid idea, but very like all the simple ideas are always the best ideas. The fact that the guy, the owner of Lego, don't even thought about that he has the tool that was able to unlock the knowledge, make you understand that sometimes things are so in front of us, but we don't see them. So he actually asked to Robert Rasmussen, that was the person in charge of mindstorming at that time, and he was staying in United States because he was very close to Seymour Papert and the Logo project in MIT, to actually allow this idea to be developed. It took a while, and in 2002, 2003, the Lego Serious Play methodology started. So the Lego Serious Play methodology developed from an idea of two professors and developed by Robert Rasmussen with the help of Per Christiansen, both former employee of Lego Corporation, became real in 2003. So at that time, the Lego Serious Play became a line of business for Lego. And they think we can sell Lego bricks into the corporation. Again, normally when you start something new, the basic solution is just say, okay, I'm selling to the kids, I'm now selling to the manager, without seeing beyond a simple thing. But then in 2007, when Lego almost get bankrupt, the Lego Serious Play get out of the main business of Lego.
I didn't realize that Lego nearly went bankrupt in 2007.
It's almost bankrupt because they
Wow.
and it was the first time that they get an external CEO. This guy, which was really smart, really focused on the core business, which is play, and everything which is not play has been. They still retain the ownership. I mean, Lego Serious Play and all the manual and all the methodologies are owned by Lego, but
Oh, really?
in terms of trademark. But
Yeah.
the real development of Lego Serious Play came into this association of master trainer, which today lead the Lego Serious Play movement. The two master trainers are still alive, Robert Rasmussen and Per Christiansen, though the Lego Serious Play itself, it's not unique. There's not one Lego Serious Play.
Okay.
Just I give you an example so we can understand.
Yeah.
Today, if someone buys some Lego bricks into the store, go into a company and say, I'm a Lego Serious Play facilitator, that's okay. The point is not to protect this. It's for the user to understand the difference between a stable, solid, well-rooted methodology and playing with Lego bricks. So again, the point is, if you think that Lego Serious Play is because we use Lego, you have the wrong picture. The Lego Serious Play is actually a 3D modeling metaphors building that allow participants to actually unlock their knowledge, and through a conversation of unlocked knowledge to actually produce common knowledge. Sometimes when we don't know how to deal with, especially in a complex situation, our solution doesn't come from our mind. It comes from that part of our mind which is very, very deeply inside. It's what is called tacit knowledge.
Yeah.
And the tacit knowledge is not something magic, by the way. If I'm asking you, Ben, can you please explain me how you go on a bicycle? Don't even know it. You know that if you start pedaling and you try to keep your balance, you can move ahead, but you don't know what your muscles and your all of your body is doing. And nobody really did go learn how to go on a bike just seeing some slides. They need to go
Yeah.
play with a bike, get their knee rotted completely, and that's it. So that is the tacit knowledge, something that we know, but that we don't know we know.
Yeah.
And
So something you could say which I don't know, maybe this is an English phrase, and maybe it hasn't spread out of England much, but it's something we take for granted.
yeah, absolutely. It's, for example, the same tacit knowledge is the one that while we are driving the car, sometimes we are thinking and we realize that we have been driving for miles and we are
Yeah.
scared and say,
Yeah.
how happened? I don't even take any attention to the driving. But nevertheless, your body were driving while you're thinking.
Yeah.
So
Well, I did this with my child yesterday.
yeah,
He gets to play piano in front of all of his classmates soon, and he was playing the song, the Pink Panther song, and then he was doing it, and he doesn't look at the sheet music anymore. He just knows where his fingers go, and that's within him now. But we can all improve in some way. So I asked him, "Well, can you teach me?" And so then he sat down and tried to teach me, and it was a trick on my behalf, so that I could help him kind of reprocess the stuff that he now takes for granted and actually have to articulate to somebody else how they should play the Pink Panther, to try and expose some of his mental models and the things which he now takes for granted.
so most of the things we know, most of our abilities are really embedded into ourselves, and they are not easily um, easy to make it emerged. So the Lego Serious
Mm-hmm.
Play, through its core process and the application technique, allow your tacit knowledge to emerge physically
Mm-hmm.
into a 3D model. And obviously, the Lego bricks are just wonderful, easy tool for building a 3D model. And why we need to have a 3D? Because we live into a 3D world.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, dealing with complexity in 3D is much easier than dealing with complexity in 2D drawing or even in 1D writing.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and we use the hands. Our hands
Mm-hmm.
are very deeply connected with our brain at a very deep level. If you go, for example, in London, you will find the sensorial homunculus, which it's a representation of how our brain see ourselves. And you will see that I have enormous hands, enormous mouth, enormous nose, enormous ear, and very little legs, and our body is very little. Because we really evolve using our hands. So through the
Mm-hmm.
hands, we unlock our knowledge. And in the moment in which we actually storytelling our model as an answer to the facilitator questions, that particular moment, that knowledge became part of of all the participants.
Mm-hmm.
The core process is very easy. You ask a question before the discussion start. Everybody building a 3D model. Then each one say how this model actually answer to the question of the facilitator, and then there is question answering and question and answering refer to the model, not to the people, not to the story,
Mm-hmm.
only to the model. So that through this core process, people grow into the flow corridor and actually build new knowledge and solve problems. So the Lego bricks is really an accident. The process is really the key.
So let me see if I can recap that and tell me what important parts I miss and what stuff I get wrong. So Lego Serious Play was born out of the CEO from Lego seeing that the competition they were facing wasn't for like board games versus video games versus Lego. It was effectively time. Like, people only have a set amount of time in which they can play. And what they're competing for is shares of people's time. And you were saying with the likes of Microsoft and Sony moving into the technical arena with the rise of video games and computers, and also modern life getting busier, he felt that there was something big that needed to be done, and he wanted to find a way to untap the knowledge, the tacit knowledge that was in the organization already, and he wondered if using Lego was an option for this. So approached two professors in the United States.
They actually were in Switzerland.
In Switzerland,
Yes.
Sorry, they're in Switzerland.
In Lausanne. But like all the Swiss, most of this Swiss business school, the faculty came from all over.
Okay, brilliant. And they took this idea away, and then they came back and proposed actually that there is a way to do this. And if we focus on I suppose the focus of Lego Serious Play, and I'm breaking the story a little bit here, isn't on the bricks. The bricks help people make a 3D metaphor.
Yeah.
In answer to a question or problem they are faced with. And because it's 3D and we can see it, it beats writing, which is 1D, drawings, which are maybe 2D. I suppose it's this unique opportunity to take your hands and your imagination and manifest. Because I suppose thinking and stories are almost 3D in many respects because it engages all the same parts of our brain. But if we then get to try and create something and talk about that thing and refine the thing and talk about the thing and not the people or the situation, and that helps us process information, it shares knowledge, it deepens our own knowledge and gives us something creative as a consequence. If the Lego bricks are just a medium, it could be bits of pencil or blue tack, it could be anything. But Lego is just such a very engaging, convenient mechanism through which to do this. And I suppose something which, for many people with a very strong emotional connection to Lego, either as children or as parents or at some point in our lives, many of us have got joy from that. So it's nice to be able to tap into those kind of old memories and ideals as well.
It's completely correct. I give you two corollaries. The first one is that we can use other material. For example, we can use Play-Doh or marble to produce 3D model. The point is that before you actually became familiar with it and start using it as a way to building metaphor, it will take years, too much. With Lego bricks, after 1 hour and a half, everybody, even if someone haven't played with Lego in his own life, can really stop thinking about how to and start thinking about what to. Second thing, the core process is something that how can a 3D metaphor actually build knowledge is something which seems not, if someone is not familiar, sound, what's that? It's very scientific, pedagogic, psychological, too much. But in Lego, there is a very nice way of making this understandable. They call it the 4C. They said people built knowledge using a process in 4 steps: connect, construct, contemplate, and continue. That's why the 4C. The connect, it's when someone is connected with the topic, problem, context, other people. That's his connection. And then he construct new knowledge. And then when you construct a new knowledge, new model, You actually contemplate it, how it actually works into the real world. And through the contemplation, you say, yes, it works, or no, maybe I need to do this, this, and this. And then you continue. You connect again, you construct and contemplate and continue. It's an iterative process, very similar to any agile process. And we know exactly that this iteration or iterative process is the basic of the design thinking, agile, scientific method. All of them is to build an hypothesis, or actually to connect with a problem, to build an hypothesis, to check, to test this hypothesis, and to learn from the test and to continue. So building a 3D model and talking, it's a way to have a dialogue, which first of all is tangible, because I maybe don't understand you, but I can see your point of view because you have your model in front of yourself. So it's much easier to discuss because we are discussing about details. It's all about the model. We are not talking about Fabrizio, Ben, or whoever. So it's really 3D thinking, and through the 3D dialogue to build new knowledge.
Because of that, then it has quite broad application.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where do you see it? Is it in your experience or from anecdotal experience, if that's such a thing, anecdotal stories you've been told? What would you say is the type of topic or situation that people use Lego Serious Play for the most?
Let's say that normally there are 3 areas of application, let's put it this way, so it's easy. One-to-one, individual, team, or enterprise. Okay? In all of these applications, we normally deal with strategy, where strategy is just a tool to make decision with an intent. Okay? Each one needs a strategy. If I want to go from a situation today to a situation tomorrow, it can be a trip, it can be a change, it can be a point of view. It's always going from A to B. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to go from A to B, there are no straightforward line. We all know that it doesn't exist. So normally, Lego Serious Play, it's a perfect tool for doing strategies. One-to-one strategies, team strategies, how we can work better. Now in Agile, we normally have the retrospective that it's about the how, not about the what. So into the enterprise, we have the what. Into the team, we have the how. Into one-to-one, we have both of them. But you can build strategy. It's a very good way to actually produce negotiation, because everything is about the model. So you have that the person are in a sort of sense disconnected from their ego. They're talking about the topics. It's also a very good anytime you need imagination, okay, or you want to place imagination into finding a solution, and also a good way to actually find new solution. No, because if I'm using the Dave Snowden Canevin metaphor, okay, in a very complex situation, you maybe don't, the answer maybe doesn't exist. And if someone doesn't have all the answers, we need to ask to anybody their own answer, because among them there is probably the solution or a solution that they can prototype, embodying and check it out, learning how this embodiment give us some information, through that feedback. And since most of the contexts are complex, most of the situation today are unforeseeable, unpredictable. We need to become agile leaders at all levels in order to deal with unpredictability. And that's why Lego Serious Play and in general facilitation are a very good answer to make emergent practice to become real.
In your experience, have you used this much with, and I'm guessing you have, but I'll ask the question anyway, have you used this much with, say, less agile, more kind of product-oriented teams?
I use in very different situations. From obviously the basic one is doing a real-time strategy or emergent strategy, if you want to use the Mitzvah definition, for into corporation, into enterprise, into companies. But I've used also into association, into group of freelancer, what I call weak organization. I've used also into product line in order to develop product strategies, and also I've used very much into retrospective, into team.
Okay. I'm curious with the product strategy piece. I mean, retrospectives, I think there's lots of stuff written on that, I suppose. And if I'm kind of working backwards to the thing you said, when it comes to product strategy, I know this is something which I think to some people comes very, I don't know, some people think it becomes easy to them. I often find it's because they're not getting a sufficient challenge, and it isn't as easy. It's easy when it's just like, I know the answers, so I'll put it down. But we know that a good strategy often that does not make. So how does it work? Have you got any little stories or examples of how
absolutely.
You can use this for a product strategy?
First of all, you start with, when you do product, sometimes you focus on features. Okay, if you go into any product, everybody's talking about feature and they match with benefits, but very few started from what we learned from CNEC to be the starting point, the why.
The why.
So how you can define a why? Why it's a very emergent. So the best way is, okay, build a model in order to actually design the why we need to do this product, why people will buy this product. So you actually have to dive into your knowledge, because there is emotion, there are fears, there are plenty of this. So one, it's this starting point. In another situation, during, for example, a design sprint, the point is, during the expert interview, the group thinking, it's very easy to, people start following one direction and they forget anything about it. No matter how good have you prepared all the questions, sometimes you have a multi-skill team and you get into group thinking. So instead of actually doing questions and answering directly, you prepare a series of questions and people build model. So for example, when I say, what do you think about it should be our marketing strategy for this product? Also, the financial guy can build and put his point of view in a way that it doesn't sound, oh, you got my budget, you're always the same. Okay, so it's a way in which, where the discussion have to be rich and all the details can be emerged on a table. It's a very useful thing. Then maybe when you do the sketching, the solution, you don't use Lego Serious Play. You use the typical 4-step drawing in design sprint.
Yeah. I like the fact that I'm assuming all expert Lego serious people are the same, where we are not just constraining it to the Lego brick. There is an option here to use a different mechanism should a different mechanism be best suited.
Yeah.
So as you said, there's no point. It would be more useful to use a whiteboard and a pen, let's say, to draw a wireframe of something than it would be to try and see what Lego bricks you have and try and piece that together in some way.
No, sometimes people say, "Oh, I built an action." An action doesn't. It's just an action. You don't need to build them up unless it's something that you may need to make emerge in a way that is important. But it's not the action. It's what is behind the action. So it's much better that you focus on behind rather than build the action itself.
Okay.
I normally try not to mix, but I try to match. So I do, for example, a certain part with Lego Serious Play, and then I stop, and then I do another part with other tools.
So Lego Serious Play is very useful for tapping into the why, letting things emerge, creating things that can be challenged, and that more exploration side, I suppose, if we think about it from a facilitation point of view, that have you familiar with the book Participatory Decision Making by Sam Kaner?
Yes. In a sort of sense, I allow people to see the other point of view. So there is a perspective taking, and it's a good way. But I won't say that I will give the bricks during a negotiation just by that, because
but when you want ideas to diverge, when you want to explore possible alternatives, opportunities, delve into what's behind some of the things that are manifesting, this is where that comes into play. Then there will be situations where you will match a different approach to that, because that's a better tool, a better mechanism by which to achieve that desired outcome.
Another situation where the Lego brick can be very useful is using some canvas, because that allow you to go deep into the canvas. So maybe at the end, the result will be the same, just some words into the canvas. But when you discuss the canvas with, I don't know, a business model canvas with an investor, you don't have only the word. You have all the 3D deepness of a model that you can rely upon. So even
and you wouldn't take that model in with you. I'm assuming you're saying that cognitively you've done that thinking, you've got those images in your mind, and when you're talking about the canvas, your brain is just giving you the images and the consequence of the process that you've been through.
Yeah. Also because when you build with your hand, everything is memorable, because our brain are not constrained by capacity, but it's constrained by relevancy. And when you build with your hand, what you build and the discussion you have, it's very relevant. So you would remember forever.
Our brain is not constrained by capacity, but relevancy. Yeah. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So does that mean
not
that
how much information you can actually put inside, but you remember your memory. Remember what is relevant to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not the ability to store, more the ability to recall.
Yeah.
And the relevancy, the more we can overload what we are learning into a more of a multi-sensory approach, the higher the probability will be that we'll be able to recall that, and it will be just imbued within our tacit knowledge and appreciation of the world. Beautiful. Well, Fabrizio, glancing down at the clock, I wonder if maybe we should bring our first episode to a close. And before we do, perhaps talk about what we can pick up on in our second recording. Now, before we started this episode, we did say that there was a potential good topic around facilitation and why we need it now, and the different types of things that happen in facilitation, and whatever that may be, agile, product facilitation, whatever the context. Do you still think that's a good topic? Are you still keen to talk about that?
I would say that we touch a little bit when I say that, for example, the facilitation, it's a good tool situation. The point is, we didn't touch very much into Lego Serious Play the real weapon of the facilitator, which is building the question.
Excellent.
So maybe it's good to understand that building the question is the key of facilitation. And what does it means when you do facilitation? We say nobody has all the answer anymore. So there is not anymore the right answer, but for sure there is the right question.
Okay, well, how about we take that and we hold it, and we will come back and we'll pick up on this rather fantastic topic then. Then maybe it isn't about the answers, perhaps it's about getting the question. And I'm that excites me. But for those who listen will know that I'm easily excited around anything like this. So Fabrizio, thank you so much for taking this time to recall the story of Lego Serious Play for myself and all of our listeners. We really appreciate it. We will be back then to look at kind of building the right question. Before we end, Fabrizio, of course, it goes without saying that I will put contact information for yourself and any relevant links into the show notes. But is there anything else you want to share with the listeners before we end this one?
Yes, that I'm a sort of old guy, and that the facilitation allow me to actually bring my experience into my work. So it's a good way because allow me to be in contact with young people, which starting as a facilitators learn a lot of knowledge. So I think that facilitation make me younger, and my young teammates get wiser. So it's a two-way, it's a win-win, like we used to say in the 80s.
I think which is like Dracula, it starts with really old, and the more blood that he consumes of the young people, the younger he looks. So using some kind of facilitation vampire for Pete's sake, perhaps that's what it is. Right, and on that bombshell, we will we'll end this episode, and we'll return ever so shortly with another one where we'll look at the real weapon of a facilitator, which is building the right question, and maybe some more vampire-related metaphors. Fabrizio, thank you so much for this. Everyone, thank you for listening, and you will hear from us again very soon.
Thank you very much.